Pati Nasarani will be leading the charge, and hopefully Indonesia could actually carry on with her momentum as they could rain the goals because they've been desperately needing to score goals and dominate possession. And here are the substitute players for Indonesia. Surprisingly, they've decided to field four players as their substitutes. Like, knowingly in football, you might as well capitalize on the rest of the players, especially in a match like this where nothing's at stake. Here we are, we make the transition to Singapore's lineup. Nur Kusumawati will be leading as the goalkeeper, and then their captain, Ms. Ernie Sulastri Sontaril, will be marshalling her team. And then, of course, the goal scorer, the only lone goal scorer for this team, Nur Omaira Hamdan, will also be featured. And it's going to be an interesting affair, ladies and gentlemen, as we go here through the substitutions for Singapore. They've actually went all out, while Indonesia actually went for the conservative approach. Here, they've already featured their full force, and hopefully these young up-and-coming prospects, as well as some of their veterans, can prove their value off the bench.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up for the national anthem of Indonesia.
A very, very patriotic sequence coming from these two teams, as this is a match of bragging rights. Nothing is at stake here for these two teams, especially knowing that both of them are already eliminated for the knockout stages. And prior to the matchups, both teams are actually showing a sense of optimism, and you can clearly see it here with the photo shoot of both teams. No pressure indeed. Of course, let's see which among these two squads will sound off with authority. While these two teams will be clashing against each other, the other matchups will feature the Philippines going up against Thailand, and then Australia against Malaysia. And here we are, the two captains, already conversing with the referees to discuss which side they'll be placed. And for those of you wondering who the referees are, you have Ms. Bui Thi Tru Trang. She will be the head referee for this matchup. She'll be assisted by Ms. Albano Merlo Silva from the Philippines. Then there's Suwida Wongraiseokthorn from Thailand. And then the fourth official, Supiri Testomia. There's a battle cry from Indonesia, hoping that they could sound off with authority. The other end here is the Singapore squad, as their head coach, Coach Steven, is trying to calm the nerves down. And both teams are already amped up, and they wish to show the kind of prowess that's been lacking throughout the group stages. Can one of these teams finally reach their breakthrough moment, especially knowing their abysmal results in the previous matchups? There, as you can see, Indonesia, after the coaches trying to amp up the players, now it's the players themselves trying to motivate the rest of the team and hoping that they could get off with a good start. And of course, the two teams already setting up. Now, I mentioned earlier that both Indonesia and Singapore are not known for their possession game throughout the group stages. So it's going to be interesting which among these two teams will finally dominate possession. And there you go, the goal scorer, Ms. Carlo Bio Patinasarani. She will be leading the kickoff, and here comes Indonesia with the long ball to the right flank. Now they're able to regain the possession. But so far, the forwards of Singapore proving their prowess as they're able to snatch the ball away. All courtesy of their forward. Number 9 is Danelle Tan Lee Earn. There she goes, trying to go for the build-up play. But so far, it's been kind of a messy possession game coming from both teams. Oh, look at that there. The skill by the number 23, Marcela Iliana Awi, trying to speed her way from the right flank, but Singapore manages to regain their composure. They try to go for the through ball, but great defensive stance there by Widaya Safitri was able to deny them any momentous attempt. And that was easily taken away there by Indonesia. As you can see, both teams are flailing to move the ball forward. You can see the nerves trying to get into their heads. No, not a lot of ground possession for these two teams. I mean, in the previous matchups, they've been aiming for long balls and risky attempts in moving the ball forward. I mean, it was very evident, you know, Singapore against Australia. They were trying to go for these risky long balls, but Australia's physicality was just too much for them. And Indonesia, they tried to do the same against the Philippines. And so far, they weren't able to control the pace of the game. The Philippines just completely outplayed them. And hopefully, they'll be the ones doing the outplaying against the Lionesses. And there's Singapore trying to go for another long ball attempt. And Indonesia keeping everything composed so far, but doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, given the way that both teams are playing as of now, we could be expecting the possession game to be around 50-50 or a bit even for both teams, or maybe one of them will have the slight advantage. It wouldn't be like the Australia or the Philippine matches where you can clearly see that one team will definitely dominate possession. I mean, for the side of the Philippines, you have so many players who are really good at controlling the ball. For the side of Australia, you have players like Heatley, as well as Lowry, who can actually use their physical tools to keep the ball at their pace, that even if they get swarmed by numerous defenders, which is what Singapore did, they tried to swarm the Australian attackers, but to no avail. And Singapore trying to attack from the right, but so far it's been a pretty iffy affair in terms of keeping the ball and going inside the penalty area. Now, for those of you who watched the previous matches, both teams have struggled to defend inside the penalty area. So it's going to be interesting how both teams are going to move the ball inside the penalty area, which they're currently struggling at, and how they could capitalize on the deficiencies of the opposition. There you can see Safitri tries to give the ball, give and go with one of the players. There's Awi trying to go for the back pass to her teammate. But so far, it leads to a potential counterattack here for Singapore. There's a nice pace there for their forward, Danelle Tan. Now she goes to the midfield area, switches to the other flank, which is a good way to expose the defense. Oh, that's not a good attempt there for the side of Singapore, trying to head the ball. And now Indonesia are going to clear it out to safety. There's Carlo Bio, the lone goal scorer. Was able to trick her way past one defender, but the pass was not on target. And then there's a long clearance there from one of their defenders. Gives it all the way straight to Fanny. Nastasia. Trying to look for an opening. And she did manage to get it all the way to Awi. But the pressure there on Awi was pretty decent there for Putri Sazali, but so far it was able to lead to some risky attempts. Now Singapore trying to organize their defense. You can clearly hear the screams from the players themselves. Now, Singapore was able to score from an awkward long-range attempt. And let's see if Indonesia will give them a taste of their own medicine, as Safitri goes for the long ball. So far, Singapore was able to decipher what she was able to do. They're trying to attack from the right flank as Dania gives it to her teammate. Back to Dania again. Oh, it's a nice 1-2 touch, but the pass there by Dania Kasima is just too strong. And more of these are risky attempts here, trying to lob the passes. And there's a bump between Carlo Bio Patinasarani and one of the Singaporean players. And this might not be good news here for Indonesia. They might be losing one of their players. As you can see, the captain, Ernie Santario, tried her best to make sure that she will not gain any momentum. Indonesia might be forced to use one of their substitutes. Be advised though, they only have 4 substitutes. They only have 1 forward available. So that's Miss Rosdila Siti Nuroma. She could come in any moment depending on the condition of Miss Carlobio Patinasarani. And this could be a very huge blow for Indonesia. Like, remember, the limited substitutions could be a major factor, and there you go. Miss Patinasarani has decided to go to the sidelines to be treated. Initially, she looked like she was about to shrug off the injury or the pain. So far, she decides to take a leeway for a moment. There's Amira trying to once again trick her way, similar to what she did against Australia before, as Indonesia go on the attack. But that was well intercepted by the captain. It's Dania Kasima trying to give and go with the right winger. And here comes Singapore. The build-up play looks much more better compared to what they did before, but so far it was disrupted. But Awi was able to intercept it. You can see the industriousness of Awi right there displayed. She's a forward, but she's there supporting her teammates in the defensive areas. Give and go with Safitri. But Awi is currently swarmed by numerous Singapore defenders. Now, it could be good if you're able to intercept the ball and snatch it away, but it could also be risky, especially if Awi was able to find a wide open player on the left flank or the central areas. Here comes Singapore trying to go for the through ball, but Indonesia was able to read it well. They were able to prepare it with 2 defenders. In order to break defenses, as much as possible, you really need to move the ball with pace. And then you also have to offer a sense of technicality. So far, both teams are actually struggling in that department as well. Here's an opening here. Will it be a long distance shot? The coaches are actually encouraging him to shoot. And she goes down. Is it a penalty or is it a free kick? I mean, you can see the hesitance from Putri Nur Sezali. She was able to blitz her way past 2-3 defenders. And based on the replay, she was fouled outside the penalty area. So it's going to be a free kick for the Lionesses. I mean, if she made that shot earlier and it went through the net, that would have been a massive momentum booster there for the side of Singapore. But this could also be another screamer, as Danelle is going to be taking the free kick. Now the Indonesian squad, they're hoping that this 4-women wall is going to stand the test of time, and they're hoping that Fanny could be able to catch the maestro that Danelle Tan Earn might provide. Will she go direct? She goes direct. Will it lead to a goal-scoring attempt inside the penalty area? Remember, both teams are not good at defending the penalty areas. And so far, Indonesia was able to be successful, or maybe I might have spoken earlier, but it was a lucky break there for Indonesia. I mean, the long distance attempts, that free kick from Danelle was able to potentially frighten the goalkeeper. That was a really good attempt there. And now Singapore going for the high press. And they've been clawing their way from the right flank. There's a cross. Danelle Tan, the towering striker. And it's actually a really good strategy for Singapore to capitalize on the height that Miss Danelle Tan brings. Like, she could, the towering presence she brings, like, that's something that the Indonesian defense might struggle at. And there you can see Miss Danelle Tan with the pressure. But so far, Indonesia was able to thwart her efforts. And once again, another failed attempt for the Garudas. There's Coach Steven, who tried to encourage Putri early on to take on the long distance shot. I mean, Coach Steven, he came into this matchup having that business as usual mindset, while the Indonesian players were trying to bring some smiles. I mean, the Singaporeans, they tried to do the same, but at the end of the day, a win is more important. And Indonesia trying to pressure the ball. Here comes the 50-50s from both teams. It's going to be Singapore's ball. Now, in terms of like moving the ball towards the penalty areas, that's something that both teams need to figure out. So one attempt, Singapore was able to show it off through some set pieces, and they could like further capitalize on that. And then you also have to consider like the flanks, and Singapore is actually using the flanks to their advantage. Like they're able to bring bodies forward. On the other hand, Indonesia are actually aiming for the opposite. You see Awi trying to go at the defensive areas to support her teammates. So it's going to be quite a question mark for these two teams about how are they going to score goals. You can see Nur Kusumawati, the goalkeeper of Singapore. You can clearly hear her heckle in front of her teammates. And there's a 5-women wall here for Singapore. Well, Indonesia earlier opted for a 4-man wall. Here they go for a 5-man wall. And it's unsure if Sheva Furisca, who's now going to be taking the free kick, if she could actually go in the top right corner of the net. Or better yet, if she could get lucky, if she could penetrate through the wall. There's the shot. Nearly went in. The crossbar was duly there, serving its purpose. As two players are currently down, one from Indonesia, one from Singapore. And timeout has already been called. That's a good attempt there. And if that reached the top right corner, that would have been a screamer for the Garudas. Oh, just look at that. That's a work of art there. It's unlucky that it met the crossbar. Now the medics are currently attending to their players. You have Umaira currently down for Singapore. And I believe it's Safira Kartini who's down for the side of Indonesia. And so far, Umaira has finally stood her ground. She's now 100% back. And Kartini. Earlier we had Carlo Bio, who had to take an off for like a few moments. And let's see if it's going to be the same here for Safira Cartini. Now, when Carlo Bio was off early on, Indonesia actually struggled to move the ball forward. So that's something that, as much as possible, you want to avoid if you're Indonesia. And this could actually be not good for Indonesia, as the stretcher as well as the medic team have already been unveiled. And as I mentioned earlier, Indonesia only has 4 subs. And they might potentially lose a key figure. Their leader is now inside a stretcher. Now it's going to be interesting who's going to take the leadership role, especially with her currently being treated. There you can see, ladies and gentlemen, possession 57% for Indonesia, 42% for Singapore. And both teams were able to show off some key attacks, mostly through set pieces. But so far, Singapore was able to put the ball inside the penalty area, which is more important than possession. And this could be a potential substitution here for head coach Rudy Eka Priyambada. But so far, no introductions have been called for the Garudas. And now this could be an opportunity for the Lionesses, as Danielle Tan was about to go on the offensive. Indonesia was able to stomp her ground. And now Singapore with another set piece attempt, only this time it's a corner kick. They have Danielle Tan as the primary target person. Can they find the ball to her head? And you can see the referees trying to discuss with the players regarding their positioning, as well as any attempts of defending and any attempt of physicality. Here's a corner from Putri. Cleared away. Here's Omaira. She can shoot it from long. That's what she tried to do so, but it now leads to a goal kick for Indonesia. That was headed away by Carlo Bio Patinasarani. Here's Nastasia Suchi. She will be doing the goal kick for the team. And here's Indonesia flailing the ball, trying to attack the right flank. Carlo Bio gets intercepted ASAP. Oh, that is a risky challenge there for Marcela Awi. And hopefully she does not get merited by the referee. Remember, 4 substitutes is a risky task here for the Indonesian squad. And my goodness, that's a very, very dangerous tackle there. And Dorcas Chu, and she actually go up. And she's okay. And lucky for Miss Awi, she does not get any cards from the referee. Myra on the free kick. Oh, this could be a shot here for Singapore, and the referee blows a whistle. A foul there on Singapore. Another risky attempt, and this is not looking good here for Indonesia. Let's look at the challenge here. It looked like a wild attempt to the midfielder of Indonesia, Miss Vini Silvianus Sunario. I mean, that was like an attempt for Miss Nur Farhana to actually go for any goal-scoring attempt. Now let's see if Silvianus can actually stand up. So far, Carlo Bio is already 100%. And this could be a headache here for the side of Indonesia. That's like 3 players in the first half already being brought down. And here's the substitution. It's already prepared. And there you go. The referee puts up the substitution. In goes number 8, Hanipa Suwandi. She'll be replacing Vini Silvianus. An early substitution at the 23rd minute.
Player number 13, Safira Ika Putri Kartini, replaced by player number 8, Hanipa Halma Kushuwaida Suwandi.
Oh, actually, it's not Miss Silvianus who will be replaced. It was actually the captain, Miss Kartini, who was actually brought down. So this is going to be a very, very risky moment here for Indonesia. Their captain is out, who was able to experience a nudge inside the penalty area of Singapore, and now you have one of your players, Miss Vini Silvianus, who will be brought towards the sideline. So this is not a good sign for Indonesia. And now they've already turned the ball over, and the dominoes might further collapse. There's the cross. It's a long attempt by Dorcas Chu. And Singapore wasn't able to capitalize on the mental relapse from Indonesia. I mean, it's understandable for the players to frantically act like that if you're Indonesia, especially if you lose a key figure. And now the Indonesians, very feisty. They need to show that they definitely have a fighting chance in this matchup amid the loss of their team captain. And so far they're struggling to move the ball towards their attacking third as the pressure from Singapore is just overwhelming them in all cylinders. Another cross towards the penalty area. So Singapore has yielded more dangerous attempts compared to Indonesia amid the possession advantage from the Garudas. There's Danielle Tan. Gives it to Dorcas Chu, who tries to go for another long-range attempt. But Fanny says that will not be allowed in my territory. That's a really nice kick there. Could be the perfect way to silence the Indonesian squad if it goes in. And here comes Indonesia trying to go on the offensive. Like Carlo Bio was trying to hit her teammate. Singapore was able to read that well. Now, Indonesia doesn't have any towering presence inside the penalty area, so going for the long throw-in might not be a viable attempt. I mean, they're trying to bring bodies forward, Indonesia, but so far Singapore has done a way better job so far. It's the high pressure from their forwards that's actually propelling them to constantly move the ball forward. I mean, this is a weakness from Indonesia as seen in the tournament. Like, they can easily be rattled. You know, the Philippines was able to rattle them. And now here comes another rattling attempt as Putri goes in the attack from the left flank. Will she goes for the finish? And she tried to go for the bottom right corner, and she was hoping that one of her teammates will be available to tap the ball in. But so far, Fani was able to assess the situation well. Now the captain's armband has been shifted to Tia Darti Septiawati for Indonesia. So she'll be leading the defense, and now she'll be leading her team. And she has a daunting task right now. Like, she's currently marking Danielle Tan. As you can see, Indonesia, they're not really known for their long throw-in. So as you can see there, Singapore already swarming the short areas. Very nifty way of capitalizing on some of the opposition's loopholes. Here's Scarlett Bio trying to poach her way, trying to go for the offensive, but a good clearance there for Singapore from their captain, Ernie, going for a more safer route. As another substitution here for the side of Indonesia. Okay, so two players are out here for Indonesia. This time, Rosdila, the forward, is going to go in. Oh, look at this. Nur Kusumawati, she looked very shaky there from a long distance attempt. But she was able to catch her ground. Imagine if there was a forward poaching in that area. That could have been a disaster. And actually, Miss Rosdila Nuroma comes in for Miss Vini Silviana Sunario. So the two ladies for Indonesia who were seen down due to some injury are now out of the game. So two substitutions already used by Indonesia. And given the rate of physicality displayed by the Singapore squad, as well as the high pressing game that they are displaying, chances are it's possible that Indonesia might be suffering from more injuries, and it could lead to a numerical disadvantage in terms of the lineup. And here comes Indonesia, desperately trying to go on the offensive. As you can see, the two players there from Singapore, they're trying to capitalize on a 3v2 triangle formation just to move the ball forward, and it's proving to be effective. I mean, so far in terms of like technicality, Singapore is actually having that advantage in that department. They're able to find the open spaces. You have Putri Nur Sazali, who could just constantly attack from the left flank when she's wide open. I mean, her positioning has been pretty decent so far. And she could try to go on the offensive as Singapore trying to attack from the middle. And they could go on the left side. But the numbers disadvantage in the attack was not really a beneficial moment for Singapore. 2 against 4, not a good idea. And Indonesia, they're trying to go for the lucky moments. As you can see, Awi is trying to capitalize on some of the nerviness. But so far, Nur Kusumawati was able to deal with it efficiently. And there's a 1v1 attempt there for Putri Sazali. But instead, she actually pushed the ball further towards the touchline. I mean, when it comes to winger versus fullback matchups, it's either you try to push the winger towards the edge where she wouldn't have any space to attack, and that's what Indonesia did. There's a potential risky header there for Nur Farhana Ruhaizat. Oh, there's a good opening here. The linesman did not raise the flag. This could be a chance for Indonesia. But the control was just too strong. That could have been a really, really good attempt there for the substitute, Rostilia Siti Nuroma. She just overextended the control. Just look at this. Was able to beat one defender, but wasn't able to have a clean touch with the ball. But it can also be argued that Ernie Sulastri Sontaril was able to anticipate her movements well, and thus leading to the clearance. And so far, Ernie has actually had a pretty good job so far in the defensive areas. Indonesia wasn't able to generate any opportunities because of what she brings at the back. And so far, the Singapore wall carries on. Here's another long attempt. Will Danielle Tan reach for it? And so far, she is the target man for Singapore, and it makes sense given her towering presence. She could be the center forward player for Singapore. As you can see, the shots on target in Singapore, not surprising, they are edging out in that category. Indonesia only has one shot on target, which is basically the free kick attempt. But other than that, it's been Singapore with the advantage. Indonesia trying to head the ball. That could have been a massive blunder if Noor wouldn't be able to reach it. I mean, we have moments of blunders so far during the group stages. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if it happens here. And there's Singapore once again trying to go for a target man approach, which is very common when you have like a gigantic striker. Like she drops deep to support her teammates. I mean, given the physical tools that she has, she could definitely be used as like a build-up option. And it could lead to openings for the wide players, especially if the center forward was double teamed. So that would mean openings for the wingers to move forward and a passing lane for the center forward. And now Indonesia on the free kick. It's Tia Darti, one of the substitutes. Actually, no, not one of the substitutes, like the starter for today's match. Now look at the swarms of defensive lines there from Singapore, not giving any space, and that's like one of their left wingers to inside the central areas. Referee says play on. That clearly looked like a clean tackle, but both players landed very awkwardly as one of the players have opted to kick the ball out to make sure that these two downed players could actually recover. And I believe it's a knee-to-a-knee attack. I mean, the player was able to touch the ball, so it doesn't clearly look like a foul. And now this time it's Singapore who might suffer a loss. And let's see if she could recover. Oh, it's Putri who's actually down. And Putri has been one of the most energetic players for Singapore in the first half. She was able to find the openings from the left flank. She's going to be a very crucial piece. Like the way she constantly attacked, especially on the counterattack when she's wide open. It actually benefits Singapore a lot in this matchup. Now she'll be placed inside the recovery areas unless if Coach Stevens says your time is out. Now with her disappearance, her potential disappearance, that would mean that Singapore's offense from the left flank will be hampered. So now they'll have to use the right flank, which they did manage to properly execute. They've been overloading the right flank with efficiently. And I guess that's going to be the main game plan, which is what they're doing right now. But right, as you can see, Putri Sazali is back in the game. Here's a high press. Dorcas Chu leading it. Again, Safitri recovered the ball. And she did pass to a wide open teammate, leading to some pretty decent attempt there for Indonesia in terms of possession. Dorcas Chu tries to go for the long ball, but instead Indonesia was able to intercept it. Now here's Carlo Bio on a race with Umaira, but Umaira was able to shield the ball properly. I mean, so far, Indonesia are relying a lot on the runs from Carlo Bio. But the thing is, Miss Pati Nasarani has been properly defended. Like, this is going to be tricky for Indonesia. So far, their attempts have been centered on set pieces. But how about, like, open space attacks or, like, possession-based attacks? So far, it hasn't been existent so far in the first half compared to Singapore, where they're able to look at some other dangerous attempts. And they could have like further maximized it if they're able to be, if they're clinical and technically astute. Now Safitri tries to, it's a heavy touch there by Safitri in front of Putri Sazali. You can hear Nur Kusumawati yanking her teammates. You have to make sure that you're able to match up in terms of the defensive positioning. That's a nudge there towards the shoulders on Sheva Furischa, who took the free kick early. And now another free kick, only this time it's the captain, the newly crowned captain, Tia Darti Septiawati. This time Singapore opted to go for a 3-man wall. Before they went for a 5-man wall. And this could lead to more openings here for Septiawati. And it goes over the bar. It wasn't like the attempt from her teammate, Furischa, who was able to touch the crossbar. I mean, the curl could have been perfect. The height wasn't really a benefactor. And here comes Singapore. Danielle Tan with a heavy touch, but the referee, the linesman, said offside. The flag was raised. And this is Singapore's game plan being unleashed. Use the target man to your potential. I mean, so far, direct football with the center forward is actually a pretty effective strategy, especially if you have really, really good long-distance passers. It could be a fullback or a deep-lying playmaker. And then you could also combine with some really speedy wingers so far. In Singapore, I believe they have the pieces for that. Now Indonesia, there's a long-range shot. Nur Kusumawati calmly palms the ball. There's Furischa with a long pass. She just like a quick pass to her teammate. That was Mayas Yaro with the long-range attempt. Now Indonesia trying to move the ball forward. There you see Pati Nasarani trying to move the ball. Or she's going to attack the left flank, Pati Nasarani. Now Indonesia going for the opposite flank. But the pace of the movement of the ball isn't really quick enough to disrupt this Singaporean defense. And now they get punished. It's Putri. And the linesman once again. So now Indonesia is playing with the offside trap. So they know that Singapore's game plan is looking very predictable. Knowing that their center forward is going to be making all of these runs, they have to utilize the offside trap. And you can see this could be a back three defensive formation here for Indonesia. Like they're really going all out on defense, like with their two wing backs, helping the defensive side of the Indonesian squad. I mean, the extra defender of a back three defensive lineup is actually really important. There are some teams in Europe who actually maximize that efficiently, just to make sure that players from the opposition's left or right flank wouldn't be able to capitalize on the open spaces because of the third extra defender. Once again, Indonesia trying to move the ball through throw-ins, but Singapore, they know what they're capable of doing. They know that Indonesia's like short throw-in game isn't going to notch them. Leads to a clearance. There's the pressure once again. And it looked very nervy there for Suwandi, who's forced to give the ball back for an offside. Only this time it's Indonesia who suffer from the linesman. Nuroma is trying to capitalize on the long pass from the captain, Septiawati. And that could be like one attempt for Indonesia to like maximize the long distance pass. And there's some frustrations happening inside the field of play. I can see an argument between Pati Nasarani and the captain Sontaril. There's another center forward play for Singapore. But the speed of the defender so far been effective for Indonesia, as it's been called out. 2 minutes has been added for extra time. Yeltan tries to go for the give and go with Putri. But so far it leads to an opening. Here's Awi. She's got so much space, but the two defenders right in front of her, that space has been minimized. And Awi is trying to be that energetic force for Indonesia from the right flank. Like she's doing her best to support the defense, and then she's also doing her best to lead the counterattack. And speaking of counterattack as well as energy, that's what Miss Carlo Patanasarani was trying to do. But of course the linesman flagged her offside. Here's an attempt from Omaira. She's done it against Australia. Perhaps she can do it against Indonesia. The referee blows the whistle. It's a foul. And now Singapore, this could be their last attempt to go for a goal. Chances are Umaira's going to take it. Actually, no, Umaira decides to sit this one out. Now it's Venezia. It's surprising that they opt to go for Venezia to take the long free kick. Will she find Danelle Tan? Oh, look at this, the goalkeeper off position. This could be a chance. And there's the goal, ladies and gentlemen. Singapore has finally reached the breakthrough. And they're already jubilant. They're celebrating. And that is definitely a sweet home for Singapore. You'd expect Elmira to take the free kick, but Venezia was able to do it well, and that's a massive trip there for Fanny, which leads to a shot attempt for Singapore. Rosny was able to find the net. So finally, Singapore, they were able to find another goal scorer besides Elmira. Rosny was able to properly position herself. Easy finish. Nothing that Indonesia can do. And just like that, in the nick of time, with a few moments left, Singapore was able to find the lead. 1-0 in the first half in favor of Singapore. And Indonesia, those smiles before the match have now looked into frowns. The question is, can they bounce back in the second half and storm their way to a victory? There you see, ladies and gentlemen, the halftime stats between Indonesia versus Singapore. Indonesia with 52% possession compared to Singapore's 48%. But the most important stat line to look at is the shots on target, with Singapore managing to prevail at that department. I mean, it's a very slight lead. But so far, if you look at the matchup, Singapore was able to do so in a more convincing fashion. They're able to move the ball perfectly inside the penalty area compared to Indonesia, who's been struggling to move the ball inside the penalty area. And most of Indonesia's attempts are through set pieces. Let's look at some of the highlights here. There's a long distance shot. And then there's a Putri trying to go for the cheeky play. And that's like one of the shots there on the side of Indonesia. Actually, that's not one of the shots on target. That's like one of the shots there on target for the side of Indonesia. And this is the goal here. Pass by Venezia. Goalkeeper stumbled down. Sort of lead to Nur Izzati Rosny having a wide open attempt. And this is actually one of Indonesia's biggest flaws. Like, if they get exposed inside the penalty area, you'd expect the opposition to capitalize on that. You had Serena Bolden for the Philippines, like scoring a hat-trick just by capitalizing on the positioning inside the penalty area. You even had Anis, who was able to score a goal inside the penalty area just because of the shaky Indonesian defense inside the penalty area. And right now, that shakiness is transitioning here in the matchup against Singapore. Now both teams are already being set. The second half is about to begin. Now it's Singapore's turn to take control of the early possession. You see two of their players, Dorcas Chu, alongside Putri Sazali, the central line. And let's see if Singapore, they could have actually go for a switch in terms of their game plan. They utilize their center forward play a lot. They tend to capitalize on the open spaces, trying to overload with 3v2s from the right side of the pitch. But will they make some adjustments? I'm quite sure Coach Steven has some hidden tricks in his sleeve, especially knowing that they have some momentum with a 1-0 lead. And remember, in a game of football, anything can happen at any moment. On the flip side, we go to Indonesia. They've been trying everything, going for the through balls, the long balls, the risky balls, trying to make sure that they get the ball inside the penalty area. But their attempts have been futile. And here we go. Immediately goes for the long pass. Trying to look for the target man once again. A Singapore staple in the first half. And Indonesia trying to answer back, but they don't have the physical tools as I mentioned earlier. However, they have the speed advantage, and I guess that's one thing they could capitalize on with Awi and with Carlo Bio Patinasarani on the front, and there's a foul. It was Dorcas Chu with a rough challenge on one of the players there from Indonesia, the substitute Sawandi. And remember, in the first half, Indonesia, 3 players were down. 2 of them are already out of the game. And hopefully it does not add to another unfortunate event for Indonesia. They don't have a lot of substitutes. They only had 4, 2 of which are already in the game. And Singapore, not a good pass there, trying to attack the right flank. They were trying to go for a long attack. I mean, a long pass from the right. So far, Indonesia was able to block it effectively. There's Sawandi. Tries to give and go with her teammate Nurmalita. But so far, it's Singapore's turn. And now Singapore going on the offensive. The pressure that they displayed in the first half. The high press game has been very effective for the Lionesses. I mean, you can clearly see that's their midfielder there, like Nur Ruhaizat, who's just charging forward. Normally it's Danielle Tan, but in the first half they would alternate. They would serve as like an alternative option to make sure that who's going to go on the pressure, so that they could like further rattle this Indonesian defense. Danielle Tan trying to go for the hold-up play, but the attempt was a massive failure. Calls for handball has been denied, but now the referee says, okay, it is indeed a handball. Indonesia gets the ball. And the referee looking very calm amid the players looking a bit feisty. It's a good sight to see. She could have actually pulled off a potential card if things get a bit heated. But so far, she's very calm and composed, very friendly. Oh, there's actually a handball there for Indonesia, so that should have been a Singapore ball. I mean, she didn't put her hands inside her body. Like, her hands were literally everywhere. So that should have been a possession in favor of Singapore. Now, Indonesia trying to fix their defensive lines. They're able to get the ball back, but it was short-lived. Now you can see 2 players are already swarming on Danielle Tan. They have to. She was able to recover the ball well with a good pass towards the central areas on her partner in crime, Ruhaizat. And there's a foul. Now Indonesia will get the ball. And there's some nervy and iffy moments, these 2 teams. Well, there's Awi with a nice trickery, but you can see Sontaril was just overly aggressive. I mean, you want to get the best of Awi if you're Indonesia. Like, she's everywhere in the pitch. There's a clean slide tackle there. A really good one from Ruhaizat. I mean, that's what Singapore are doing really well, using their forwards. That is definitely clean. That is 100% clean there. Really good tackle, really good challenge. And another one down for Indonesia. And Nurmalita, she has to stand up. She knows her team is in jeopardy. Now she goes to the sidelines. and she's hoping she could bounce back. And Singapore once again with the safety clearance. All throughout the match, when they feel pressured, they always try to keep the ball away from Indonesia, even if they have to put it towards the sidelines. There's an awkward attempt there for their substitute striker, Nuroma. But Nur Kusumawati was able to make sure that that does not go in. Now trying once again to capitalize on the build-up play, and this could be a chance here. Here's the midfielder, Ruhaizat, with a very wayward shot attempt. I mean, when you're already being chased by 3 defenders, she tries to calmly put the ball towards the sole of her feet. But of course the angle of the ball towards her feet wasn't really that good, so it actually ended up over instead of through the net. Here's Putri going 1v1 with her counterpart, and could have actually led to another attempt. I mean, you see a connection between Putri and the goal scorer herself, Rosny. And the referee blows her whistle. I wonder what this is about. I guess she's trying to slow the pace down. Like Indonesia, seeing how desperate they are to score, they're doing everything to make sure that they get the advantage. Here's Awi, goes to her teammate. But the control there for Nuroma wasn't really that good. She was clearly pressured there by the defender. And this could be another advantage. Here's Rosny, wide open in the right flank, being chased by one of the defenders. And a good run, a good defensive run there for Indonesia. And it was Furishna. It was Furishna, who was actually able to defend it well. And another good 1v1 save there by Furishna. Like, she's doing everything. Like a forward being able to defend well, that's actually required in the modern game of football. You see a lot of European teams, like, they want to make sure that their forwards are able to defend efficiently. It's not just about forwards conserving their energy towards the attacking areas. It's forwards making sure that they put the pressure on the opposition. And let's see if Putri could find a target. Corner kick taken. Myra was actually poaching. She tries to go for the long shot there. Bani was able to get it. Clear it comfortably. Indonesia attacking the right side. They need to make this quick if they want to break the Singaporean defense, but Singapore was able to read it well as Putri, from the middle to the left, tries to give and go with Danielle Tan. But a good read there for Indonesia. Yeah, the 2 forwards, Danielle Tan and Ruhaizat, proving to be a pest for this Indonesian squad. As Rosny was able to trick the defender away. Tries to go for the through ball to Ruhaizat, but her attempts were futile. And there's Carlo Billo, who's trying to hold the play, tried to link up the team, but she actually gets fouled by Dorcas Chu. That was a very aggressive tackle there by Dorcas Chu. Now she gets a yellow card because of it. I mean, that was a good defensive play for a Dania Kasima, but Dorcas Chu just, boom. Could have been an elbow to the face. And with that yellow card, Singapore has to be very careful. If they suffer another yellow card on Dorcas Chu, that would give Indonesia more opportunities to go on the offensive. That's if they could capitalize on the disadvantage in terms of player numbers. Now the game is slowly becoming physical. I mean, Singapore has been very physical in the first half, and it was able to yield some proper dividends for them, especially with their forwards. As I mentioned earlier, Ruhaizat and Danielle Tan, they're proving their value as defensive linesmen for the Singapore team. There's a free kick. The lob could have been perfectly done. Here's Awi. Tries to find a teammate in the central areas. A Hail Mary pass as Pati Nasarani was being collided by 3 Singaporean defenders. I mean, a 3v1 situation, it's not good for Carlo Bio Pati Nasarani. Actually make that a 2-man defense, and that's a potential headbutt there. I mean, both were able to touch the ball with their heads. So I doubt that's a foul. It's really not a foul. And there's Kusumawati. That looked like an awkward goal kick. Trying to find Nur Izzati Rosni, the goal scorer. Shots on target, once again displayed, and Indonesia looking very lively in the second half. I mean, they are showing some signs of life. The fact that Nur Kusumawati looked troubled early on is actually a good sign for Indonesia. In the first half, they literally looked like they were a bit non-existent in the attacking third. Now, they're finally trying to inch their way in this game. Now it's a matter of making it a bit convincing for Indonesia. I mean, it's still the same approach in the first half. It's just that they're more energetic and more bolsterous moving forward in the second half. I mean, the signs are there. We saw earlier that you had Pati Nasarani like trying to hold the ball in towards the inside the penalty area with Nurmalita. There's Fanny trying to stomp any attempts from the Lionesses. And the referee blows a whistle. Oof, okay. Like Indonesia trying to quick the pace down. In Singapore, you see a frustrated, you see the signs of frustration here between Rosny and Furisca. I mean, earlier it was like between Furisca and another player. But now Rosny starts stepping in, and now Awi's already part of the discussions as well. Now in the free kick, it's Nurmalita. There's Awi wide open. It's Kusumawati. Nur Kusumawati was not able to hold the ball well, which could have been a very, very awkward moment for Singapore. But lucky for them, this free kick here for Nurmalita ended towards one of the Singaporean defensive lines. Now Indonesia with possession. Trying to move in central areas. Are we already in position? Oh, this could be a shot as Kusumawati was able to deny the attempt from Furischa. Good reflexes there for Nur Kusumawati. And Furischa, who was earlier looking very, very frustrated, now the mental game is already sticking in her. That's a really good attempt. That just shows you this Indonesian team still has a fighting spirit. Doesn't mean they're down 1-0. Doesn't mean it's all over. They did look exasperated by the whistle of the first half, but in the second half, I mean, they're looking like they've already deployed like the S-tier version of their willpower. And Singapore once again going for their signature Danielle Tan play. But Indonesia was able to read it well. I mean, right now it's Indonesia going on the offensive. Here's one of their players, Nuroma. Was checkmated there. She was easily predicted by the opposing defender. And now here's Danielle Tan, who couldn't win her duel on the left flank of Singapore. Now it's Indonesia. They are finding some signs of life in the right flank. I mean, so far you have Nuroma. Then at some points you have Marcela Awi in the right flank, trying to provide the supporting play. And then even you have Carlo Bio Patinasarani also providing the support play in that area. And Indonesia trying to move the ball back. Roma. Oh, that was well read. Are we going for the link-up play to Patinasanari? And now, here comes Indonesia. They have the momentum. Bio. There comes the interception. Haizat tries to attack the defender. Tries to attack Septiawati, but to no avail as Singapore introduces their two substitutes. Dominguez is now coming in, replacing Dorcas Chu, and it's a good replacement because the yellow card is going to be a factor in this matchup. Indonesia will definitely capitalize and go aggressive with that yellow card, and here comes another towering presence for the side of Singapore. So, Tan Hui Ying Lila is coming in. So you have a very, very tall front court for Singapore. I mean, this could be the tandem, sorry for the pun, with Danielle Tan and with Tan Hui Ling. Now Indonesia trying to move the ball forward. And we could see some promise here between the two tall strikers for Singapore. But the link-up play hasn't been effective. I mean, so far Indonesia's defense were able to read it well. They're able to masterfully assess the runs from Danielle Tan so far. Like the offside trap in the first half. And you can see a potential link-up with Danielle Tan coming from Rosny. And now, here comes Singapore on the attack. They try to go for the long ball to Pati Nasarani, but to no avail. Once again, they go for the long ball. This could be a chance for Danielle Tan, who initially stumbled. There's the hold-up. But two defenders, even if you're a really, really physical presence up front, but with two defenders right in front of you, you could struggle at any moment. Oh, you could see there a trip, and That could be a sign of attack here for Indonesia, capitalizing on a potential injury. But doing the gentleman's honor, they decide to acknowledge the down player from Singapore. I mean, Singapore was dispossessed because of a potential cramp from one of their players. Let's look at this. So it's Putri who tripped. And I believe she accidentally twisted her ankle while she was trying to control the ball. I mean, with her being surrounded by the Indonesian defense, it's possible for her to like feel the effects of like a mental lapse, especially knowing that you're surrounded with you could be potentially swarmed. And obviously, possession is very crucial in the game of football. But Putri, she looks very. I mean, right now, doesn't look good for her. And let's see if she could stand up. And she could be hobbling. And she'll be going towards the sidelines. So a potential substitute might come in for Singapore. We've already introduced Stephanie Dominguez and Tan Hui Ying Lila. I mean, so far, Putri Sazali's impact in this match has been really good from the left flank, and even in the central areas, trying to provide a sort of passing link for her teammates. Oh, that's a nice pass to Danielle Tan, but so far, her first touch has not been at her favor. And you can see Singapore trying to once again look for an opening in the right flank. But Indonesia was able to swarm that area well. There's Kasima with the throw-in, which actually led to Indonesia with the ball. Indonesia is actually looking for the open areas. And it's been proving to be very effective for them in the second half, as this could be a foul here. A really brave attempt for Fanny. I mean, let's see if Rosny was able to touch the ball first. And so far, it looks like the keeper was able to catch the ball, but Rosny was able to touch the ball with her foot, so doesn't look like a foul. Though it all depends on the referee's jurisdiction. Of course, both players landed awkwardly. And there you go. Both players are looking good so far. And Indonesia's goalkeeper, she definitely needs to stand her ground. I mean, the substitute reveals that only Indri Yulianti is the option in terms of like goalkeeping. Like, Indonesia's substitutes include like one goalkeeper, one forward, one midfielder, and one defender. So one in every position. So they're kind of stifled in terms of player pool compared to Singapore with 3 goalkeepers, a couple of defenders, loads of forwards and midfielders. So Indonesia doesn't have the same luxury of players. And you can see some discussions with the referees and the players. Could be some heated banter. So Danielle Tan tries to go for the hold-up. And you see Carlo Bio Patinasarani tried to squeeze her way past 2 defenders. But that's a tall order against a really rigid Singapore defense. Putri to Tan. Back to Putri. Going 1v1 with a defender, and Putri wasn't able to win against Suyandi, but she was able to give, but at the end of the day, Singapore still has the ball. You see another player down here for Singapore. I mean, that was a good challenge. That was a good challenge there for Kasima. But then, of course, I guess she landed her knee on one of the targets. And there you see the fouls, and it's not surprising that Singapore has 13 fouls given the sort of physicality that they displayed. When you have like a high pressing game, it's expected to like snowball in terms of fouls. 13-4. I mean, when you have two high pressing forwards and then you have midfielders swarming around in all cylinders, you know, Singapore definitely has to have that edge. I mean, so far, the double-digit fouls only yielded one yellow card. So that's a bit of a good sign for Singapore. They are physical, but it's not to an extent where it's going to be troubling for the entire team. Though the disadvantage of having a very, very aggressive game plan is that you're already being prone to injuries, not just for the side of Indonesia, but also for Singapore. I mean, the aggressiveness has also led to numerous players being down, which is what we're seeing so far. And so far, it's only 2 substitutes have occurred because of injuries. Everything else looks pretty okay. Here's Aoi. She has so much space to run. Now she could use her speed. Oh, she could actually go for the pass all the way to Nuroma. But the pass was just too strong for her. And you can see Patina Sorani trying to go for the cheeky way. Kind of how she did it against Ina Palacios of the Philippines. Like, Palacios was able to receive the ball, but she was there poaching. But this time, Noor was able to read her thoughts. Here's Indonesia. Throw in. Now leads straight to Singapore. You have Tan already poaching. And Fanny looking for the right target. But instead, it leads to a clearance from the Singapore squad, from the goal scorer herself, Rosny. There's Venetia trying to give and go, but Danielle Tan wasn't in the right position in terms of the hold-up play. More loose ends, but the loose ends finally goes to Rosny, who tries to go with Danielle Tan to another Tan. And trying to trick her way past 3 defenders. It's actually a good usage of the in and out dribble move. But now it leads to a counterattack here for Indonesia. Oh, Furizcha tries to go 1v1. But that was a really good hold up there for Kasima. She was able to hold her ground effectively. You can see the coaches already praising Dania Kasima for her overall defensive prowess. I mean, she was able to make sure that the run from Furizcha does not yield any dividends. Just look at this. There you see. Kasima definitely deserved the coach's praise. And you can see another hold-up attempt. So the hold-up plays are still lingering on in the second half. But the difference is in the first half, it's Danielle Tan who's like leading the hold-up plays. while her partner in crime, Ruhaizat, is the one charging forward. Now you have two hold-up options. Now Singapore on the attack. Daniel Tan is open. But the linesman says it's offside. She tries to chip it in. But with the linesman's efforts, it was denied. So far, with two hold-up options, Singapore's going to be overloaded in the central areas. So I actually want to see them utilize the hold-up options on the left and the right flank. Like there are forwards like in the professional play who use their hold-up presence in both the left and the right flank, and that's something I want to see for Singapore to add a bit of variety so far. I mean, they're trying to do it. They're trying their very best to make sure that it could connect. You can see a stumble there on the side of Indonesia. And now they're trying to move the ball forward. One of their center backs, one of the Indonesian center backs, is caught off position. But it doesn't really matter because even if Septiawati was out of position, her partner in crime, Suchi, was able to position herself well. Let's see if Singapore could utilize the long throw-in. Remember, they have two towering options up front. Kasima goes for the short throw-in, which actually leads to her and Venezia trying to link up in that area of the pitch. There's Dominguez going very aggressive, but her efforts didn't yield anything, but it doesn't really matter. With players like Umaira being able to move the ball forward. Here's Dominguez. Her pass was easily intercepted. There, Patina Sernari tries to go for the back pass all the way to the right flank. And so far, Mayes Yaro, who tried to link up from the right flank, wasn't able to yield the proper result. There's Kasima. And she was trying to link up with her teammate there and successfully, but leads to the outer areas of the field of play. And the throw-in by Nurmalita is going to once again happen. There's a potential link up to Nuroma, but so far it yields to Singapore regaining possession. The second half is slowly unveiling. 78 minutes have already passed, and the score is still 1-0. Indonesia was able to display some sort of fight, especially in the first half of the second half. Naraima with a free kick. I mean, if the free kicks from Venezia and Naraima was able to yield some potential goal-scoring opportunities for Singapore, perhaps you might as well capitalize on it. Whereas for Indonesia, they tried to do the same. They even tried to go on the break. And I guess this could be their first successful attempt. Actually, Singapore wasn't able to yield anything. There's Indonesia trying to lob the ball from Suchi. The central areas being heavily contested. Oh, it's the frustrations happening this time. It's Rosny who literally threw the ball, and she's going to get a yellow card. Yeah, just look at the reaction from Nurmalita. She was like, "Are you serious?" And you can see Rosny, she's gone to the arguing with the referee. Will Rosny get a yellow card? And she actually did. There's a confirmation. Nur Izati Rosny gets the yellow card. So she was the hero with the goal scored. But slowly, she could be leading to her team's demise. She has to be very careful with her actions in the pitch. And here comes an attempt for Pati Nasarani for Indonesia. I mean, the Indonesian forwards, you can see all three of them. Pati Nasarani, you have Nuroma, you also have Awi. They're trying their very best to overwhelm the Singapore defense. There's a shot there, a prayer for Nuroma. But it never yielded anything. The positioning of the Singapore backline is just too much for the Indonesian squad. However, this could be a goal-scoring opportunity for Indonesia. They've came in the second half with more life and energy. They have slowly inching up in terms of shots on goal. So let's see what Nurmalita can do here. Nearly could have been a header. So far, it's going to be Singapore keeping possession. Let's look at this attempt here by Nurmalita. That could have been a pretty good attempt for Fitri. As we go for another substitution for Singapore, I believe Rosny is going to get out, given the yellow card. Oh, look at the body language there of Izati Rosny. And you can see Octavianti Nurmalita trying to comfort the opposition, or Rosny, who tried to go very, very aggressive on her.
Player number 10, Nur Izati Rosny, replaced by player number 2, Nur Yazwani Muhammad Rusi.
And Rosny indeed goes out. This time she'll be replaced by Nur Yazwani Muhammad Ruzi. You can see the sort of physicality displayed there from both Indonesia and Singapore on the right flank, which forced Tan to move the ball backwards. And now you can see Indonesia trying to encourage the team to move forward. They need to tie the game. There's Pati Nasanari. She tries to cross the ball inside the penalty area, but no one was there. Duroma wasn't in a good spot. Duroma thought she was actually going to that her teammate Pati Nasarani was going for the cross, like the aerial cross. Instead, she tries to go for a short pass. I mean, given the lack of aerial presence from the Indonesian squad, I believe it would have been better if Nuroma decided to go near Pati Nasarani rather than stray away inside the penalty area. And Raima going for the long distance attempt to aim the ball at Tan Hui Ying Lila. So far, her touches with the ball has been very limited. I mean, she's trying her best to link up. We saw it earlier in the from the left flank. There's a free kick attempt for Indonesia. Is there a foul? Will the referee call it? Yes, she did. And shots on target has indeed improved for Indonesia. They have 6 compared to Singapore with 4. I mean, the second half has been very solid so far for Indonesia. I mean, they're trying to find the end product, but it hasn't really come into them. Oh, look at that pass there, but it was just too strong. Like, you can see the connection there by Singapore from the left flank between Dominguez and her teammate Lila. I mean, that's what the link-up play was meant for when you have Lila, who just moved to the left flank. And now you can see Daniel Tan going to go under pressure. One of her teammates. Oh, it's Daniel Tan. She was able to head the ball, going straight to the penalty area, bringing back shades of Ricardo Kaka in AC Milan against Manchester United. And you can see another feisty challenge here between Awi and one of the Singaporean players. Here's Pati Nasarani. Tries to link up with her teammate, but so far Singapore was able to intercept. And a yellow card here on Singapore. It's actually the substitute player, if I'm not mistaken. Ruzi was being targeted there by the referee. Let's see if it's really her. It's Ruzi with the ball. She tries to move the ball forward. Or actually, no, it wasn't Ruzi who gets the yellow card. Yeah, it wasn't Ruzi who got the yellow card. She was trying to link up to her teammate up front. As you can see, one of the players here from Singapore, it's Venetia, who's now down. There's a stretcher. And Singapore could bring in more reinforcements. I mean, they have the luxury of players compared to Indonesia. I mean, she was able to experience a tough challenge. One of the Indonesian players. Now she's going back in a pitch, Venetia, towards the sidelines. Now Singapore doesn't have anyone as of this moment to replace her. Big question is, will she come back? Now 89 minutes have passed and Indonesia are hoping for a miracle. It's Myra with another of her signature long passes. It's actually Carlo Biopati Nasarani who gets the yellow card. for what she did earlier against Indonesia. And now 3 minutes of added time. Three very long minutes if you're Indonesia. And a yellow card. There has to be some sort of like error in terms of carrying on with the game, which led to this yellow card. And it's actually Putri Sazali who gets the yellow card. Here's Lila trying to go for the build-up attempt. And another goal for Singapore. This is definitely a moment of ecstasy for the Lionesses. The penalty area once again exposed from Indonesia. An easy finish there for Singapore, and just look at the players from Indonesia. They literally cannot believe how did that go through. Look at the replay, the header by Daniel Tan. Lila with the link up. That could have been an own goal. I mean, it depends. If Ruzi was able to touch the ball, it looked like it is an own goal. An unfortunate circumstance. I mean, the two towering forwards with the connection, and it's Sepjoati who commits a massive error for the side of Indonesia. And boy, I could feel her right now. She did not really take that well. She was literally kneeling out of agony for what she did against the Lionesses. And there's actually another last-minute substitution to further delay the game and disrupt the momentum of Indonesia. Indonesia actually is taken out, and she's been replaced by Nur Afika Omar. And now Indonesia, they're going for the high press game. They have to do something here. Or apparently the high press didn't really look convincing. They're out of energy as of this moment. You can clearly see the disgruntled faces that they're displaying right now. Feels like mentally they've collapsed after they've conceded that own goal. But maybe Nurmalita could make something of here. She needs to resurrect the joys of this Indonesian team. But that was denied by Nur Kusumawati. And you can see Singapore with momentum at their side. They're just moving the ball with efficiency and perfection. And the referee has blown his whistle. It's full time. Singapore has just trounced Indonesia in the final group stage affair in Group A for these two teams. This is definitely a perfect way to end their campaign with high hopes. 2-0 for the Lionesses, all thanks to how they're able to capitalize on Indonesia's shaky and open defense inside the penalty area. And that's something that the Garudas need to work on, you know, knowing that they'll go home without any sort of like win in this tournament. Players shaking pleasantries between both of them. Initially, it looked very, very chaotic because there are moments of heated exchanges. But so far, both teams are actually going for sort of like a friendly banter. Nothing personal indeed. And the results show it. 2-0 for Singapore. The physicality that they bring have actually paid dividends for them. Well done